On today's Thursday edition of Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch Up, we've got a jam packed episode for you guys. In the first segment, I want to go ahead and take a look at the 0-3 series loss sweep versus the Athletics. Uh, pitiful performance from the bullpen, terrible, defensively. We'll take a look at that. And then the second segment, I want to go ahead and break down the Detroit Pistons schedule. Really, we're gonna take a look at their upcoming, the games that I find intriguing. We're gonna look at the roster, and we're gonna go over some questions that I have about some certain players, and we're gonna give my overall predictions about the record for the season and for the Eastern Conference playoffs. And in the third segment, we're gonna make it a quick one, but we're gonna discuss the Lions' final 53 or 52 man roster and who made the practice squad. All that and more next on Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch Up. Hello, everybody. My name's Gordy. Welcome back to Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch Up. This is the Thursday edition. The date is August 28th, and we've got a lot to get into. So, without further ado, I want to get right into the Tigers series loss, the series sweep versus the the No City, technically, Athletics. I, I always slip up and call them Oakland just out of habit. So please forgive me if Oakland slips out a couple times. It's still hard for me to figure that out, or to drop that bad habit. Anyways, 3 games against these guys. We saw Tarek Skubal, Charlie Morton, and Casey Mize out of the starting pitching rotation. And I mean, Tarek, he did okay. He got touched a couple of times, and we'll get into that here in a second. Charlie Morton, every pitch with him, it's either a swing and a miss or it's a home run. So, that is what it is. And then Casey Mize, just another rough performance to add on to the collection of brutal performances from Casey Mize since the All-Star break. So first thing I want to get into, game one, which was on Monday. Tigers go into this one still first in the Central. I think they were 12 games up. I think now they're 11 games up on KC. Tarek Skubal, starting pitcher, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 12 strikeouts. It's a lot, and no walks. So, not too much to rag on about Tarek Skubal's performance. Like I said, gave up a pair of big runs. One of those being a grand slam from Shea Langeliers. Langeliers is one of the best hitters, or one of the hottest hitters in all the league right now. So if anybody was gonna get one off on Tarek, at least on this A's roster, it was probably it was gonna be him. Regardless, you hate to see it though, but yeah, he absolute bomb. That thing went no doubt or 400 feet. Grand slam. Hate to see it. Other than that, when we look at offensively, when we look at the Tigers, they really didn't do a whole lot until the 6th inning. They scored, let's see here, they got 3 runs in the 6th. Gleyber Torres got a solo homer. Wenzel Perez doubled in right center, driving in 2 runs, and that puts Detroit up 3-0. And then, right after that, bottom of the 6th, Skubal kept it scoreless. 7th inning, Tigers not able to get anything done. And then, defensively in the seventh inning, that's when Langeliers got his grand slam. So starting from the beginning of the bottom of the seventh, School allows 5 runs total in the inning. Colby Thomas led off with a solo homer, cutting into the lead 3-1. After 2 hits and an error loaded the bases, Scooble struck out 2, but gave up the grand slam to Langeliers. That would be Langeliers' second grand slam, approximately a 450-foot shot. So I could have given that one a nuke icon, if I'm being honest, especially if I gave Riley Green, if I gave him the nuke. But yeah, one of the more impressive home runs I've seen all season, and not very often you see Tarek Skubal give up something like that. Unfortunately, um, yeah, Tarek, not too long after gets pulled. Yeah, Tigers 3, Athletics 6. Eighth inning, bottom of the eighth, Nick Kurtz hits a 2-run homer. Um, and that's his 27th of the season and his first as a pinch hitter. And then yeah, the Tigers bullpen all day just had a hard time. So what I'm looking at, um, Hernandez had a decent game. Like I said, Kurtz had the 2-run homer. Soderstrom, uh, probably one of the most consistent guys on this roster, had a game. You'll notice his name quite a couple times on this board. Ugly game defensively, very ugly. I think we got 1 or 2 errors. Yeah, 2 errors on Zach McKinstry alone. Dude, I really don't know what to say about Zach. Listen, last night that guy, or Monday night, excuse me, that guy was an error machine. And that's kind of a reoccurring theme throughout this whole series is just defensive malpractice. Really, uh, not great stuff defensively at all. This is probably the worst series I've seen since Pittsburgh, like a month or two ago. It just game. It felt like game one after Tarek gave up the grand slam, and then Kurz gets the 2-run homer. It kind of felt like they gave up, and I'm not just talking in that game. I'm talking series. Like, uh, yeah, you know what? They had a decent amount of effort. Game two, game three was pitiful, but um, game two, there was just too many mistakes to um convince me that the Tigers brought their A game. But anyways, speaking about game two, let's get into it. So, Charlie Morton, 5 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Like I said earlier with Charlie Morton, everything that guy's got is, it's either swing and a miss, or it's getting sent into the third row, in the outfield. You know what I mean? And for a home run. Yeah, he's got the badass curveball. The curveball looks great. Always has looked great. Um, his other you know, off speed pitches, not so great. Other than he kind of knows how to use the slider, and then the four seamer is nothing special. Um, Riley Green, I can't put it off for too much longer. Just absolute nuke. That happened in the third inning, but let's see here. First inning, Kurtz and Langeliers get quick singles back to back. Rooker strikes out swinging. Kurtz advances a third off a wild pitch. Soderstrom strikeout swinging, and Jacob Wilson gets the 3-run homer. Um, that sucked. That really sucked. And that kind of that definitely dampened the mood on this game a little bit. I know immediately after Riley comes back and they get the grand slam to lead again by 1 run, but um Oakland did a really, really good job. Oakland, here I go again saying Oakland. Um, Sacramento did a really good job of applying pressure early on everybody in our bullpen, everybody, all of our pitchers, and yeah, they we got outplayed. Simple as that. But anyways, yeah, third inning, top of the third, Baez fly out, Rogers walks, Keith advances to I'm sorry, Keith advances Rogers with a base hit. Torres walks, so we got bases jammed. Here comes Kerry Carpenter, strikeout swinging. And then I'm trying to think of that one song. I need a hero to save me. I was that a Seether song? Or was that a it might have been a Creed song. Anyways, um here comes the savior, Riley Green. Like I said, tactical freaking nuke. Uh, it was the longest recorded grand slam in the MLB since 2021 and third longest recorded grand slam in MLB history. Um, I think our guy Schwarber in Philly got one that was longer, and then I think it was who was it in Chicago? Was it Rizzo that had one? In 2018, 2019. That was the longest in MLB history. But third longest in MLB history. That's pretty badass for Riley Green. And that was his first career Grand Slam. So shout out Riley Green. Torque pop out ends the inning. So we head to the bottom of the third. Langelier and Rooker get on base with both with singles. Langelier comes home with a single off the bat of Soderstrom. We got a tie game. Wilson ground ball forces a force out at second and scores Rooker. Athletics lead 5-4. And then we go to the top of the fifth. Colt Keith gets a solo homer to make up for the 2 errors he had on the day. Or no, just I think it was just one error that he had, but I noted that he was pulled in the ninth by AJ just because of the amount of errors that he had, or defensive mishaps that he had all day at third. Um, uh, you got some good and you got some bad with Colt Keith. Like I said, the solo homer and the terrible play at third. They, I Colt's been a good guy, so I'm not going to rag on him too much. And we're already locked in with him for a decent contract. So me just complaining about him won't do much good. But Colt Keith up and down performance on Tuesday, but yeah, we go to we're at the bottom of the third, and then yeah, Wilson gets the ground ball force out. Athletics up 5-4. Okay, yeah, my bad. I'm repeating myself a little bit. Top of the fifth, like I said, Colt Keith homer ties up the game. Glaber ground out, and then Carpenter strikeout swinging. So that'll end the inning, and we really didn't get a whole lot for the next 4 innings. A lot of swing and miss from the Tigers bats. Don't like to see that. Don't like to see that at all. Um, just when I thought that these guys were starting to do a lot better at being patient, at home, and kind of just letting the pitches come to them. Um, it felt like this whole road trip, like they were a little antsy. And they didn't have the patience that they normally do. Pretty frustrating, but regardless, you know, Not a whole lot we can do about that. Let's go to extra innings now. Top of the 10th, Riley and Spencer start off the inning, strikeout swinging. Um, Kerry Carpenter is, already at second, because, the extra innings base runner rule. He advances to third. He steals third. Perez walks. Zach McKinstry base hit RBI scores Carpenter 6-5. Tigers lead. Going into the bottom of the 10th, we got Rooker starting on second base for the Athletics with the extra base runner rule. Soderstrom gets a RBI base hit that scores Rooker. Pretty quick off the gate. That was a I want to talk about this a little bit. That was a terrible play from Riley Green. Dude, noodle arm, and instead of getting that thing to your shortstop and then letting your shortstop, make the decision, the outfielder's decision, or Green's decision, terrible. Because as soon as it got back to home, I think it was it Colt or was it Dylan had to try to get the out at second, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. So instead of just letting the game get tied up and then just trying to get another out on the board, and get somebody out of scoring position, um, you make the totally wrong call or totally wrong decision by trying to throw to home. And okay, it wouldn't be the totally wrong decision if Riley would have actually thrown that thing, got that thing to first, but it hit the ground and skipped on the way to first. It wasn't even close. Absolute noodle arm play. So yeah, no, that was garbage from Riley Green, and it's not often that I hark on this guy, but this was a game of polar opposites. I mean, like I said, Charlie Morton, strikeout swinging or home run. You get one or the other. Colt Keith, offense, solo home run. Defense, errors and terrible plays at third. Riley Green, absolute tactical nuke, longest home run, first grand slam of your career, and then BS plays in the outfield. Very frustrating from these guys. Now I don't have too much to say about the guys on the Athletics roster for this game, other than they did enough. Langleers 3 for 5, 2 runs. Soderstrom 2 for 5, 2 RBIs, 1 run. Rooker with 2 for 5, 0 RBIs, 2 runs. And their starting pitcher, not great. Bullpen, not great in this game, but they did enough towards the end to keep the Tigers out of it. Yeah, anyways, Tigers drop game 2 of the series 6-7, and we move on to game 3. So Casey Mize starts for us. About 3 1/3 of innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. One of Casey Mize's worst performances, I think, all year. I don't want to be too quick to jump on this guy and be extremely critical, but his ERA since the All-Star break is like 6.19, and it's almost 7 if you count from July. That's a fast track way to get you put into the bullpen and not into this starting rotation. especially for the playoffs. And we'll talk about the playoff rotation in a second. I know we talked about it in the last episode, but that really seems to be like one of the number one questions surrounding the Tigers, especially going into the month of October. So I feel like it almost can't be discussed enough. Anyways, yeah, with Mize, the splitter is dead. I remember him coming out of Auburn, and the splitter was like his best pitch. Um, Decent command on the fastball, decent command on knuckleball, but now it's rough. He doesn't have enough command to get the ground balls and get just the easy contact hits to get the easy outs, and he doesn't have the stuff to get strikeouts. This is a point that I saw from Chris Castellani on X that I thought was really good. Um, if the guy can't get contact hits and he can't get strikeouts, why is he a starting pitcher? Why is he somebody that you consistently look to every week, other than the fact that he was a first round pick and that as an organization you want him to look good to make you know your organization look good, and that may be a little bit of a nil a nil point because of or a null point because of the fact that he wasn't drafted by Scott Harris, but I still just not good from Casey Mize at all. You'll notice I don't have anything here for our skill position guys. Oops, I dropped my hat. But really just absolutely terrible. My player of the game for the Tigers would be Rafael Montero. Um, Literally, maybe the only guy that I saw anything good out of tonight. Maybe Zach McKinstry, maybe Spencer Torkelson, but um, yeah, overall they got blanked. They got blanked. Not sure what else I have to say that I have to clarify. They got blanked. It's maybe I'm still a little bit emotional coming off of it. I mean, right now it's about 2 a.m. while I'm recording this, so I'm an hour and a couple hours removed from, or hour and a half, couple hours removed from the end of the game, but um I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Offensively, we have to get back on track in the next series against KC, and that's going to be tough because we got immediately we got Seth Lugo off the bat, and that's their ace. So hopefully the Tigers can just get out of Sacramento and hopefully kind of brush that dirt off their shoulders, because boy, that was rough. Yeah, for Casey Mize though, all I want for him, and that would make me uh, even like somewhat confident in him being our third, our pitcher for our playoff rotation. If he had like, I don't know, a 4.0 ERA, like at least since, excuse me, um since the All-Star break, that'd be awesome, or just on the season in general. But man, terrible. Just let's see, his ERA for the year is at 3.95, but yeah, since the All-Star break, it's ballooned quite a bit. He, like I said, he had a few good starts early on in the season, but Yeah, it's not coming along for Casey. Not a whole lot of optimism with him either. It just kind of looks like he's lost a lot of his luster. Um, Anyways, player of the game for the Athletics, uh, Luis Morales. Wow, he doesn't even have his image card on MLB.com when I'm looking at the box score and the stats, or uh, even on the Real Sports app, nothing. This guy is that young. Seven innings pitched, zero earned runs, two walks, and seven strikeouts. Um, this is what I want to see out of Troy Melton the first time he, or at least if he gets to start anytime soon. A young guy. He's got some pretty nasty stuff. Decently high velo. Uh, Makes me wish I had that guy on our roster. Anyways, um, Zach Yeloff had a absolute bomb. Um, I think that was the double that they got today. Let me look at my notes. I should just have this open, dummy. Um, yeah. So bottom of the second. Let's see. Harris gets a single, and then Zach Yeloff gets a two-run homer. That put the Athletics up 3-0. Um, Earlier in the first, Soderstrom got a RBI single, so that's how they got up 1-0. And then we head into the bottom of the fourth. Athletics up 3-0. Brett Harris gets a double. Zach Yeloff reaches on a brutal throw from Mize. Athletics 5-0. Yeloff caught stealing second. A little bit of a heat check for him. He's had a hell of a game. He also, I think in the first or second inning, he had a hell of a defensive play. A rocket of a line drive from Zach McKinstry that just got picked off by Yeloff. So shout out to him. That was a good play. Um, let's see. Brent Rooker gets the sack fly to center, and that scores in Kurtz. A's up 4-0, and then Soderstrom grounds out to end the inning. Uh, oh man, I keep repeating myself. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyway, let's just head to the bottom of the eighth. So Drew Summers comes in for Canely. Canley didn't. I I don't expect a lot from Canely. Didn't really have a lot of control on his pitches, and I think he more so got lucky with groundouts than anything else. Let's see. Lawrence Butler pretty quickly gets the single off Summers, and then right after gets caught stealing second. It's funny, the TV broadcast they showed right after he got caught stealing second. Now that it was tonight, or I'm sorry, last night, was the same night that Ricky Henderson got his single season steals record with 132, and then he had four on this night, and that was 42 years ago. Shout out Ricky Henderson, one of my favorite historical MLB players. Excuse me. Hernandez gets a single. JJ Bleday force out. Brent Harris walks. That sends JJ to second. And then the throwing error from Dingler, the attempted pickoff. Yeah, that sucked. Zach Yeloff doubles center field for 2 RBIs. Athletics 7-0. Kurt strikeout swinging, and that's it. Nothing happens in the top of the ninth. So final, Athletics win 7-0. Tough game, really, really tough game. Um, so obviously I have some notes here. Some of the biggest things: 2-26 with runners in scoring position. Do we have no respect for the trail runner? I mean, you are going to lose every single game in the playoffs if you are 2 for 26 with runners in scoring position. That is getting you nowhere. That's 2018, 2019 Tigers, level BS. This is garbage. This is terrible. For a team that has one of the best records in literally all of baseball, you can't do this on a consistent basis. This needs to stay in Sacramento, and you need to this stink needs to stay in Sacramento and not follow you to Kansas City, and then I think to LA. Um, Disgusting. Nothing makes me, more upset than leaving guys stranded. So, um, sorry I had to get a little emotional there, but not happy. Another thing that I'm not happy with: 11 errors in the last 7 games. I kind of messed up that 7 there, but whatever. You guys get it. Um, Between these two stats alone, this is why the Tigers got swept this weekend. These two, points. 11 errors in the last 7 games. So that's like an error and a half every game. What are they doing? What um I I don't know if it was the jumping time zone, from the East Coast to West Coast, being the jet lag 3 hours behind or whatever. I tend to not really like that argument because you're professional ball player. That's kind of just what you have to deal with. That's the run of the mill, especially in the MLB when you play, 160 games every year. That's just, naturally something you got to deal with. Um just totally unfocused. Yeah, anyways, we already talked about Riley's uh just absolute nuke. That was pretty badass. Javi Baez, some of his worst at bats all year, and it's hard to say that, but situationally, when you look at it, like how many guys that he left stranding alone, I think it was like 7 this weekend, or 7 or 8. It starts to make a little bit more sense. It just uh vintage El Mago, but like not good El Mago, like terrible last season or the season before El Mago. I knew that his pace before the All-Star break or All-Star games was not sustainable, but I didn't think that he would fall off a cliff this bad. And now he's got a 697 OPS. It's under 700. So congrats, Avi. Stinks. I think I got this stat. This might be a little bit outdated too, because I think I pulled the stat from after game 2, so it's probably even lower. Anyways, they got outclassed on defense. I noticed it obviously, especially today or tonight, yesterday night. Sorry. Um, losing 0-7 or 0-7. Brutal stuff, dude. Brutal stuff. All right. Finally, couple more things for this first segment. Um, what's our playoff rotation looking like? Obviously, so we talked about it last episode, but maybe I don't think I've changed my mind. I think it's still obviously Tarek 1. I think 2. I think it's still going to be Flaherty, given the playoff experience and um at least Flaherty, like he'll let up a couple errant pitches, but he's got way more control over his bag of pitches than a Casey Mize or Chris Paddock does. So um I'm still going Flaherty number 2, and then third, I'm going Old Man Morton. I don't trust Casey Mize. I don't, for the reasons that I displayed and that I talked about earlier. Um, maybe he can do us some good coming out of the bullpen, but for playoffs, I would rather have a pitching chaos day than a Casey Mize start. That's just how I feel. Can we get the first round bye? Um, we should be able to. We just kind of need to edge out Toronto with for their record, but excuse me. Um, this should be the goal. This should still be what everybody in the clubhouse is striving for. Obviously, you take it. Yeah, I'm sure the coaches say take it day by day, but you got to have some long-term goals as well, and this has to be one of those long-term goals is getting that first round bye. Um, because I think the division is already, pretty well wrapped up. Speaking of the division, we got our uh, you know, magic number. We got 24 wins to clinch the division and 8 to 10 for a playoff berth. Um, Other than that, guys, looking ahead, we've got a 3-game series away at Kansas City this time. I know we just played them this last weekend, but hey, we got them again. So for Friday, I think we're gonna have Chris Paddock versus their ace Seth Lugo. So that's gonna be a hell of a challenge for the Tigers right off the bat. Last time we faced Lugo, you know it was a tough game. I'm pretty sure they still won, but it was definitely a tough one. Um, for Saturday, we have Flaherty, and then I checked the website. They don't know who they're gonna throw up on Sunday yet. Doesn't display it. Um, I'm not really sure either. If I'm being honest, I'm not entirely familiar with Kansas City and their starting lineup. But uh, anyways, Sunday we got another Terry Scuba start. We got Scuba versus Michael Waka, and really looking for a bounce back performance of Tarek. And what I mean by bounce back performance is I'm not expecting him to get 12 strikeouts again, but I am expecting him to, only let up one run, not give up a grand slam. And I think that's a reasonable ask for the best pitcher in baseball. Anyways, other than that, when it comes to the Tigers, I don't got a whole lot else for you guys. Really disappointing. This is the worst that they've looked in a while. I think back to back to back games. You hate to see this happen to them. These guys, especially them getting blanked on Wednesday night. But yeah, I think they'll be okay overall, but not what you want to see at all from these guys. Anyways, that's gonna go ahead and do it for segment 1. I don't really have anything else to talk about Tigers related. In the next segment, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Detroit Pistons, and we're gonna break down the roster and some new additions, and just kind of how I think they're gonna mesh. And then we're gonna go ahead and take a look at some notable games that have been announced for the regular season schedule. And then I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just give my overall record prediction and my prediction for the bracket for the Eastern Conference playoffs. And that's next on Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch Up. Welcome back to segment 2 of Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch Up. If you haven't already, make sure you like and comment below. And if you don't want to miss a single one of my uploads where I update you about all the sports teams that you love here in the Southeast Michigan, Detroit area, go ahead and click that bell icon right next to the subscribe button. It really helps out, especially for a small channel like myself, to not get lost in the algorithm. If you guys are, tuning in, pretty soon after it uploads, but let me not be too picky. Anything helps, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Anyways, guys, I want to get into the Detroit Pistons here. Some of you guys might be wondering why I'm getting into these guys. It's still a month out from the season, but basketball is kind of my bread and butter. Basketball and football, and I've been itching to talk about these guys because I'm pretty excited for the Pistons' upcoming season. If we're being honest, the Eastern Conference, it's kind of up for grabs. I mean, you've got a Boston squad with an injured Jason Tatum, and then you've got a Indy squad with a injured Tyrese Halliburton, and they traded away Miles Turner. So these guys aren't going to be nearly as effective as or at least these two teams aren't going to be nearly as effective as a lot of people think. And then also Milwaukee trading away Dame. I think that's also a big loss. So um, things are things are looking a little different in the Eastern Conference. And then Desmond Bain going to Orlando makes them look even tougher. Um, and then what else happened? Oh yeah, Tingus Pingus, Kristaps Porzingis goes to the Hawks. Um, that was definitely an interesting move. I don't know how much that's going to help them, but he's a decent player. So, I think he's a guy that, if healthy, which is a big if, can definitely be a number two or number three contributor on your team. Um, I think they're going to be when it comes to Atlanta, they're going to be looking for more output from guys like Zachary Aristache. And who else do they have? They have Onyeku Okongwu. Um, I gotta take a better look at Atlanta's roster. Luckily, we still have a month before the season starts for me to, uh, take a look at these guys. But anyways, the first thing that I wanted to get into was the 9 or potentially 10-man rotation, depending on um, what happens within now till October 22nd. Um, Number one, Cade Cunningham. We really don't have to say much about him. If he continues to be a pro and continues to do what he's supposed to do, he's gonna, continue to uh, get smarter in the game of basketball. He's going to continue to develop physically, and he's going to continue to develop his game. A player of his caliber, I have no worries. Another player that I don't have any worries about really is Isaiah Stewart. I think he's just about hit his ceiling already, and that's pretty damn good because he is able to take your favorite team's starting center and put them in jail and hold them to the worst stat line of the season. So Isaiah Stewart, big fan of Beef Stew. Don't got a whole lot to say about him. Um, our starting five is projected to be, most likely it's going to be Cade at the one, Jaden Ivey at the two, Asar Thompson, small forward, Toby at the power forward, and Duran holding it down in the paint at the five. And then when we go to the bench, we're going to likely see uh, Duncan Robinson come off as the sixth man. And then right after him, it would either be Karis LeVert or Isaiah Stewart. And then after that, we're going to see some minutes from some young guys, Ron Holland and Marcus Sasser. And then when it comes to the rest of a lot of these depth guys, even Marcus Sasser to an extent, because I think healthy Jaden Ivey definitely pushes him further down that guard rotation and limits his minutes as a guard that he's going to get. Excuse me, guys. This Dr. Pepper has got me all burpy, but yeah, I don't see a lot of these guys. contributing too much. Uh, Chaz Lanier, I'm interested in, but probably not till next year. If I'm being honest, I think he's going to get a lot of run in the G League, or potentially, I think he's going to get a lot of run with the is it the Motor City Cruise. Um, not like I said, not expecting a whole lot out of rookie Chaz Lanier out of was it Tennessee, I believe. Um, anyways, going down this list, guys that I'm looking at. First guy that I want to talk about here, Jaden Ivey. We're gonna see if he can continue his improvement or continue to improve from beyond the arc. Uh, last season before he got hurt, he was shooting it at like a 42, 41% clip, which is ridiculous and probably unsustainable. But if he can shoot anywhere around a 30%, 33% from three, that's more than I can ask for. That means he's draining a couple threes a night. Is a solid um, you know, secondary option for Cade for the kick out. Um, yeah, so the shooting is something that I definitely want to see improved because I think our team desperately needs guys that can shoot, especially the starting five. Uh, then other than that, the finishing around the rim, just being stronger and being more physical and really like forcing your way in there, working in the post. Um, that's something that I want to see from Ivy. I think what's going to be really interesting about the Pistons this season is the pace at which they're going to play at. I think they're going to run a lot more full court sets. I think it's going to be a little bit less half court offense specific because I think we got a lot of quick athletic guys that can take advantage of the fast break and can put pressure on other teams on the in full court press. So um, I'm really excited to see uh, you know how many plays that Jaden Ivey can get off of cookies from a Sart Thompson or off of Funny or off from whatever. I want to see Jaden Ivey being that cherry picking guy all the way at the end that before you even know it, if you're the defender, you're think you're on offense heading towards the other direction, and then boom, balls out, and then Jaden Ivey is all the way on the other side of the court, easy to, and just like that, you're down. Anyways, um, other than that, this is a contract here from contract year for him, so I do think that he's going to be playing. Um, he's going to be playing better. I think he's going to be, a little bit more aggressive as well, or at least I think he should be a little bit more aggressive, um, with every single time he's given the ball. He's got to make the most of it. That's just kind of the position that he's in right now. Um, when I look at the contracts for his peers, I would say so. I'm kind of looking at guys like Cam Thomas, Norman Powell, Jalen Green, Benedict Mathurin, Colin Sexton, Anthony Simons, Tyler Hero. Those guys are netting anywhere from 16 to 30 million. Jaden, I don't think he's gonna get to 30. I think the Pistons aren't gonna want to pay him more than the 20. I don't think they're going to want to pay him more than like 23, 22. I think he's probably going to be asking for 25. I think realistically, I'm hoping that we can get it under 25. And even then, it's a lot, but I think with salary cap likely to go up, within the coming years, I don't think that would totally handicap the Pistons, and I think that they can definitely afford to pay Ivy. But if you pay Ivy and the guy that we're going to talk about next, then you start to get a little strapped for cash. Anyways, um, I don't think Trajan Langdon's going to make that contract too big because I think Langdon, I don't think I know Trajan Langdon's a smart guy, and I know that he's not going to set up one of these super aggressive contracts for a guy that he knows isn't in the long term plan. So if he has any doubts about Jaden Ivey, I wouldn't. This isn't going to be a long term deal. This, and it's going to be a contract, or at least hopefully it's going to be a contract that is easily tradable with significant team control, but also not a super high number. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to see what he's got this season, though. I think he can be one of the most exciting players of the year, and I think ceiling wise, he can have a Russell Westbrook like rookie number or rookie year or second year type of performance. And I don't just say that because offensively he kind of does the same stuff. I mean, seriously, production, um, like everything. He's capable. He is easily capable. It's just a matter of if he can clean his game up a little bit. Anyways, let's talk about Jalen Duren. Um, Duren, another one of the guys I really like on this roster. Like, guys, I have both of their jerseys. I'm not kidding, right? Listen, Jaden Ivey, boom, and then we got. Hold on, let me grab the JD. Hey, Jalen Duren, boom. I told you guys. I told you I rock with these guys. These are my guys. But I also have expectations, and you know, JD, he's going to be commanding quite a bit of money. Um, Likely to be anywhere between 21 to 24 million a year, probably on a 4-year deal. His peers are, netting anywhere from 18 to 28, so that range makes sense. Um, I also hesitate to pay him more than 20 a year, even though I know that that is what he's going to ask for. It makes me nervous, though. I definitely will say that. Um, when it comes to his game, he needs to improve his glass presence. Defensively, I really hope that he can do. I mean, he's not like the worst defensively, but um, you you have to have a Ron Holland or an Asar Thompson on the court at the same time as Jalen Duren to make up for the lack of defensive hustle, um, which sucks because we've seen time and time again Duren just kind of get uh, not necessarily bodied. I mean, he's a really strong guy. He can hold his own, but um, just kind of uh, more easily manipulated in the paint by more skilled centers, and I think that's another thing about being young. But defensively, he's got to step it up. For the sake of having effective rotations and having effective lineups that the Pistons, the various things that the Pistons can throw out, JB Bickerstaff can implement on a night to night basis. JD improving defensively would be crucial for that. I also want to see him get a little bit better at passing. I know that's kind of an odd ask from a center, but given the fact that he can't shoot and his inside scoring leaves a lot to be desired, other than the lobs and sometimes like the putbacks, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I think JD's game is limited, and he's shown flashes of having more in his arsenal. I want more. Maybe I'm greedy, but I want more from JD. Um, yeah. Anyways, um, let's see here. Back to kind of what I was saying about JD, and like especially having an All-Star Thompson on the floor with him. When they were together, they were elite. They held, guys to some of the lowest numbers in the NBA, or at least starting fives. But when he was, or when Duran played without Star Thompson on the court, um, the Pistons were outscored by 26 points. And then that's in playoffs, specifically against New York. But that is a pretty simple microcosm for how we would get handled in the playoffs in general. Um, New York would be the only roster in the playoffs that we would match up against, or could go against with that's very deep. Um, so them being able to take advantage of some of our defensively lacking lineups doesn't fill me with confidence, especially when it comes to a paint presence like JD. Anyways, let's move on to somebody who we don't have to worry about offensively at all, or yeah, defensively. Asar Thompson. Um, we need something from him offensively. I don't care whether it's playmaking, whether it's um, developing, you know, a little bit more of a shot, whether that's a midi or closer to the rim. I'm not expecting him to develop a 3-point shot. I've given up on that, and Piston fans that expect that, guys, I don't know what to tell you. It's don't hold your breath. That's probably not happening. Um, Other than that, if he does develop something offensively, we could have some really, really fun lineups running Star Thompson at the point guard. That could be a lot of fun. Anyways, I expect him to finish in the top 10 for votes Defensive Player of the Year. And I expect him and his brother to be on defensive or all team, all defense teams. Um, Other than that, um, that's all I have to say about Osar. Hopefully the blood clots, nothing like that comes back to haunt him. And yeah, anyways, let's move on to power forward Tobias Harris. So the biggest question that I have with Tobias Harris coming into the season is how much can we expect him to regress? I think it's not much of a question that he will regress. I just think that due to his age, obviously, but I just think that how much that'll happen is kind of up to him, but also kind of up to JB Bickerstaff and how Tobias Harris is utilized within the lineup. I think um, uh, when it comes to his shooting splits, or shooting numbers, he looked great. He looked really good last season. Not the best from beyond the arc, but we kind of always knew that with Toby. His mini though, I I am a sucker for a good mid-range shot. I don't care if it's a low percentage shot. I don't care. I love the mid-range. I'm a sucker for the old school um you know the Dirk Nowitzki, body up, spin, fader, whatever. I love the midi, and he's got one of the cleanest middies in all of the NBA, other than guys like DeMar DeRozan or Zach Levine. Yeah, Anyways, I'm not sure if he's gonna re-sign after this next season. Because he is entering the last year of his deal. If he does, it probably wouldn't be for any more than like 1 year, and then after that, I'm sure we really wouldn't have to worry about him, at all. Um, let's see here. I want to move on to Duncan Robinson. Um, New addition, right? We just got him from the Miami Heat. Really excited to have this guy on our roster to kind of fill in for that role that Malik Beasley left. Um, I I know he's going to be a lights out shooter. We all kind of know that. It's more so what he can provide, um, what else he can provide offensively. He's known to be really good on screens, and he's he's got a great, like a hook off the screen play that Miami abused the hell out of last year. I wouldn't mind him, to see him running that, especially anytime that he's slashing to the basket. But um, obviously, the 3 point shot is what he's here for. To be the facilitate 3 point numbers for our roster, and yeah, I think he's sneakily. I think he's going to be a little bit of a fan favorite. This team. He also, as he joins the roster, he is the second oldest on the team, other than Tobias Harris. So should bring a steady veteran presence. Yeah, we brought him in with the through a signing trade with Miami. Got rid of Simone Fontecchio, so pretty good deal. He's got a fully guaranteed $16.8 million in this upcoming season. Uh, and yeah, he's a career 39% 3 point shooter. And he has the record for 3 points made in Miami. So his resume kind of speaks for itself. He's going to come into Detroit, uh, shoot the cover off the ball, and that's a role that we need. We could use maybe one more shooter, but D Rob, especially being the sixth man, I like it a lot. After that, I want to talk about Karis LeVert, his former U of M teammate. Of course, I'm talking about Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert, being former Wolverines. The 31-year-old shooting guard slash small forward also came in off of a signing trade with the Cavaliers. He signed a 3-year, $52 million contract. Levert, he's really good with like the pick and roll, um, and really good at isolation scoring. So him being the new backup point guard uh, actually does fill me with a lot of confidence. I Last year he didn't have the greatest year, but I still respect the hell out of Karis LeVert. He's a proven vet, and I think he's gonna be he won't be too much worse than a Tim Hardaway. I think he's gonna do a fine job of running the bench unit. Yeah, shout out Karis LeVert. I'm pretty excited for him. Um, in Cleveland, he in last season he got 13 points per game. He shot 42% field goal and 33% from 3 point. Um, he's reliable midi and transition scorer. 3 point could use some improvement, but his clutch performance is really kind of what I'm looking at for this guy. Um, Late in the game, before we put Cade back in the game, when we have the second unit rocking out there and maybe, the other team has a first unit out there for, a couple minutes, can he hold his own and can he keep us within, a few points while Cade and, maybe a Jaden Ivey are still on the bench, getting some rest. That's the biggest thing that I'm looking for Karis LeVert. Um, Other than that, let's see. Who else do I have here? Oh yeah, Ron Holland the second. So he's entering his sophomore season with the Pistons. Um, I think it's going to be a lot of low usage, high efficiency kind of plays. So like lobs, kickouts, uh, you know, stuff like that. A lot of promise when it comes to his like slashing ability to get to the rim, but shooting wise, there's a lot of work that could be done, but I think at least with a Ron Holland Jr., it's feasible that he can develop a consistent jumper, unlike an Asar Thompson. um I think it's funny that we kind of have a tendency to draft so many of these guys with broken 3-pointers, but oh well. Um. Anyways, yeah. Let's see here. I really like the idea of having an Asar Thompson come in on the second unit, right after Asar leaves the game, and immediately putting Ron Holland on whoever Asar was guarding. Whoever their best, wing or forward is or whatever. Um, I really like that. Just to uh, be able to have two guys that can split the minutes to constantly keep pressure on the other team's best guy. Um, I think that's going to prove to be crucial for the Pistons next season, especially when they go against the good teams. When they go against the Jalen Brunsons, when they go against the Luka Doncic, when they yeah, when they go against these teams that have, like I said, that have really good forwards or wings. Um, Anyways, I don't think that we're gonna see Asar and Ron Holland start together this season. I think they're a little bit too similar, and neither of them have much of a offensive capability. So it really puts a strain on whoever else you'd have on the court. And given the fact that we don't have a center that's like a total bucket, it makes it nearly impossible to realistically put a roster or a lineup out there with those two at the same time. Um, depending on the situation, we could definitely see Marcus, or I'm sorry, uh, Ron Holland the second being one of the first guys to come off the bench. Um, yeah, I definitely think we're gonna see nothing but an increase in minutes from him in this 9-man rotation, unless there's one guy that could somewhat take away from his minutes. That's Malik Beasley. So Malik Beasley recently was cleared by investigators of any wrongdoing, and Pistons a very likely fit for Malik. I'm not confident that he'll come back. I think that there are contenders that could pay him more than we can, and I think, especially in Malik's position, he's going to try to just go for the biggest contract that he can. But right now, especially when it comes to signing him, Pistons are at like negative $1.2 million. So you sign him for 10 to 15 a year. You're gonna stay under that first apron. So you're not gonna get too heavily luxury taxed, but I still think that it's not reaching that first apron isn't something that the front office was necessarily or is necessarily capable or comfortable. I'm sorry, is something that they aren't necessarily comfortable doing with the state. Given the state of the roster right now, and just um, it limits your ceiling if you already are in the first. And yeah, since he was cleared of any wrongdoing, I really don't see other teams being extremely hesitant to try to go after him. So I'd give it like a 25% chance that Malik Beasley's back on this team. Yeah. Other than that, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the schedule here. Excuse me. So we've got the 26th ranked hardest schedule in the NBA. So fourth easiest. That should come in handy, especially given the fact of given what we are trying to do this season. Since Trajan Langdon has kind of already said, this is a wait and see kind of season. He really wants to just evaluate and see what talent is on the roster currently, and really what we're working with to see what moves going forward need to be made. So I don't see them swinging for the fences, and I feel like a Malik Beasley move might be a little bit too much. But anyways, with the record though, I got them going 48-32, especially with a more wide open Eastern Conference. I think it should be a lot easier for them. 16 nationally televised games. That's awesome. I think we had 4 last season. So that many nationally televised games is awesome. I am including the games that are on Peacock. If they're available on streaming for the entire country to watch, I'm calling them nationally televised. I don't care. First game of the year, October 22nd at Chicago for the season opener. And then they come home a few days later, October 26th, for the opening night against Boston, but more like opening afternoon. It's at 3:30 p.m. And I don't know if that conflicts with the Lions game or not, which is why they may have moved that up a little bit. But interesting to have a opening night at 3 p.m. After that, Dallas first, we go to Mexico City to play the Dallas Mavericks. I'm actually really excited for that game. I'm going to be watching that one pretty keenly. I like the forward and wing depth that Dallas has, and I would love to see that compared to where the Pistons are at currently. Let's see here. We play the Knicks come to town January 5th. January 10th is sports betting night. I'm gonna try to make that one. That sounds like a fun night. Let's see. We got the Celtics on MLK Day. That's January 19th. And then February 9th, we got the Knicks again at home. 3-1-3 Day, or March 13th is against John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. And then our 2 NBA Cup games. Excuse me. November 14th against Philly, and then November 28th against Orlando. And then if we win those 2 games, and that kind of determines whether we move on into the pool. We'll see. The whole NBA Cup thing, I'm still not too sure about. I'm not totally on board. So, I don't know. Then, other than that, April 8th, Fan Appreciation Night. Not too much interesting on when it comes to the schedule here. No Christmas game or Christmas Day game. And obviously we're not on opening night. But anyways, still, really looking forward to the season for the Pistons. Like I was saying earlier, Trajan is definitely going to be looking at this season as a to see what we're working with. So I'm really excited to see. At least hopefully we get a full season of this core. I know we kind of say that every season somebody gets hurt, but hoping that we don't have to deal with that this year, because we have a really promising roster. Our 10-man rotation, very promising, and can definitely do some damage, especially here in the East. Speaking of the East, let's go ahead and get into our Eastern Conference finals, or Eastern Conference playoffs prediction bracket. Firstly, we start in with play-in tournament. I got Chicago at the 10 seed. I got Miami at the 9 seed. I got Indy at the 8 seed and Atlanta at the 7 seed. I got Atlanta winning this one and snagging that 7 seed, and then Indy will lose and then play the winner of the 9 to 10 seed. And so I have Miami coming out of this one because I just don't think Chicago is that good of a roster. And Miami just in general, they have more experience. They got more guys on that roster, but pretty much a battle of the mid. I'm pretty sure that was also a repeat of last year's play-in tournament, but that's fine. We got a few repeats. The more things change, the more they stay the same in the NBA. Anyways, after the play-in tournament, 1 through 8 here, we got, let's start at 8, we got Miami. 7, we got Atlanta. 6, we got Milwaukee. 5, I have your Detroit Pistons. Number 4, and our first round playoff matchup, I got the Knicks. And then after the Knicks, we got Orlando at 3rd, and then I got Boston at 2nd, and Cleveland with the number 1 seed. So I have Cleveland kind of, making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. But really, I mainly want to talk about this rematch between the Knicks and the Pistons. I really do think that the Pistons could beat the Knicks if they face them again in the playoffs. I think the biggest thing that held us back, obviously not having Ivy, but then not having Beef Stew for the majority of that playoff series really killed us. And game 1, when he was on the court, or at least before he got hurt, I remember we were like up 10, and then as soon as we got hurt, we didn't really have anybody to guard Mitchell Robinson, or they would throw their double big lineup at us, and we would be screwed because we were out there with B-ball Paul, which shout out to Paul Reed, but he's not going to be able to consistently really do much of anything against starting NBA caliber talent. So like I said, barring injuries, we should be able to take care of the Knicks, but I think moving on to the second round is where we would face a lot of trouble. Cleveland, I don't think we match up very well against them. We squeaked like 1 or 2 wins off against them last season, but it's not looking up. It's not, well, okay, let me rephrase myself. It's not looking like Detroit's going to make a deep push this year. I think they're still going to get to that second round, but I don't think they're going to do much after this. I can only see them, maybe winning 1 game after they advance. Anyways, out of the other side of the bracket, I got Orlando beating Milwaukee. Milwaukee just is not nearly as powerful as they were, even a couple of years ago. Now it's really just Giannis with Dame going back to Portland. So good luck, Milwaukee. Boston, even without Jason Tatum, or he might. There's maybe a chance that he'll be back in time for this playoff run, but I wouldn't count on it. This is probably the closest series in this. Well, okay. This series is making me think the most. Let me put it like that. This series is giving me the most questions. I personally, I kind of have a vendetta against Atlanta, though. I've never really liked the Hawks, so um, I got Boston moving on. Jalen Brown is badass, so I think he can figure it out. But yeah, for our Eastern Conference Finals, I got Orlando making it out of the probably a 7 game series against Boston, and Cleveland probably out of a 5 or 6 game series against Detroit. And then of course Eastern Conference champs, I got Cleveland. Anyways, guys, that's really all I have to say about this Pistons segment. Like I said, I think they're going to win anywhere between 45, 50 games. I think it is going to be a market improvement, but not by. It's not going to be an earth shattering. I do still think they take a step forward this season, though. Barring injuries or barring I don't know, anything like a suspension or whatever. I definitely wouldn't say the sky's the limit, but I think they are in a very nice spot going into next offseason where some moves are a lot more likely to be made, some big splashes. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's all I have for segment 2. If you guys want to stay tuned, I got one more segment where I'm going to be discussing the Detroit Lions final roster cuts, and yeah, stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back to Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch-Up. We've got the third and final segment for you guys tonight. I just want a quick rundown of who's made the Detroit Lions roster, who's not. I don't think we really need this in the background anymore. We could probably push you on out of here. There we go. That's a little better. Okay, so couple of shocking things first that I want to get to. The Detroit Lions have uh, traded away uh, wide receiver Tim Patrick. Let me pull up the details right now, but kind of a surprising move. I mean, I thought for sure that going into this season that Tim Patrick still solidified himself as wide receiver 3, or at least had the experience and the trust from the coaching staff that he would maintain that role. But no, not at all. So they sent him to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 2026 sixth round pick. Yeah, right on. Yeah, last year he had 33 catches for 394 yards and 3 touchdowns in 16 games last season. So Lions retain 6 wide receivers. We have obviously Amano St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Isaac Taslop, but they also through the retain Dominic Lovett, and then who else do we have? Jackson Meeks was signed to the practice squad. So, um, yeah, 6 receivers is interesting. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, 5 receivers now is interesting. I guess, that would be 6 total with um, our guy. Or no, that would be 7 total with Jackson Meeks and Ronnie Bell on the practice squad. But anyways, let me talk about some more notable names on the practice squad. Um, Miles, defensive lineman Miles Adams. He was a solid piece last year that was able to fill in. So decent practice squad guy. Wide receiver Ronnie Bell. Shout out, U of M alum. Obviously I remember him, and if he can contribute, that's awesome. Just kind of another I mean, he's pretty flexible. I feel like he can do a lot as a wide receiver. He's more of a wideout guy, but I feel like he's tough enough to work in the slot. Let's see, offensive lineman Tristan Colon, who they signed in the offseason. Um, you know, offensive line depth, especially interior offensive line depth, always helps. Oh, I was wrong. So 8 wide receivers because they still retained or they got Tom Kennedy on the practice squad as well. Um, let's see, yeah. So Tom Kennedy, Jackson Meeks, and Ronnie Bell, kind of round out that receiver room. Um, let's see some OGs that are still around. We've got Anthony Pittman, linebacker. Safety Lawrence Strickland is still here. Um, uh, Dan Skipper, he re-signed for the practice squad. Thank God. Edge Isaac Ukwu, he's still here. And then we got a couple of guys that we snagged off of other teams' waivers. Tyler Lacey and Tyus Wheat, um, from Jacksonville and Dallas, respectively. Um, solid, solid additions, but nothing that moves the needle other than I think that Tim Patrick trade. I think that was relatively significant. Not something that I was expecting, but I mean, dude, from everything I'd heard, he had a bad camp, and Isaac Tesla just he looked too good. So yeah, really excited to see the Lions' first couple of games here, how the new offensive scheme will, Johnny Morton's scheme will mesh, and then just defensively how we're gonna do with Hutchback and all the guys firing on all cylinders. We're 2 Sundays away, folks. 2 Sundays away. So um, make sure you guys continue to check into Gordy's Detroit Sports Catch Up for all of your Lions news. And with that being said, guys, that's really all I have to say for this whole episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell notifications or notification icon so you guys never miss an upload. And you guys can stay up to date with your favorite teams. That being said, my name is Gordy, and thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.